When collecting is all you can think about, think Upper Deck ePack, where you can buy, open, and trade hockey cards and authentic memorabilia from anywhere at any time. Real cards, real trades. Collect Upper Deck.
Upper Deck Player Spotlight time here on the fourth period, brought to you by our very good friends over at Upper Deck, David. And this segment is also brought to you by cards that might need a little bit of updating. And if you catch my drift, we'll start with the guy in Anaheim, and that's Adam Henrique.
Yeah, with one more year left on his contract at a 10-team no-trade list, Adam Henrique is no stranger to the trade market. And we're approaching the new year. That's when talks really start to escalate across the National Hockey League. We'll have a roster freeze in a couple of weeks here over the holiday. But Adam Henrique is a guy whose name has been out there for the last couple of seasons. With Anaheim going through a bit of a shift and going through the rebuild process, he's going to be a name that we're going to hear more of as the season progresses. As of now, 14 points in 26 games. He's on pace for about 44, 45 points on the season right now. Had a bit of a resurgence of a year last season offensively for this team after a slow start, and has been fairly steady the rest of the way this year. As Anaheim is, look, not many good things are happening with the Ducks this season, but the potential of moving out a player with 1 year left on his contract to get 2 playoff runs out of him, we've noticed the trend start to go in that direction the last few seasons. Adam Henrique is going to be a player that is versatile. He can play the center position. He can play the wing as well. For a team that's looking to shore up their top 9 come playoff time, he might be a guy that would certainly draw some interest, or will be a guy that will certainly draw some interest. It's really going to come down, Irf, to what Anaheim is willing to do financially. He's got a pretty heavy cap hit. Are the Ducks willing to retain a little bit of money? That'll all depend on trade negotiations, but expect to hear Adam Henrique's name as the season progresses in the trade market.
Another guy with a pretty heavy cap hit. Let me ask you this. Will Josh Anderson be a part of the Montreal Canadiens the day after the trade deadline?
Yeah, March 4th, probably, but he's another guy whose name we will continue to hear in the trade market. We heard it in the offseason. We heard it again at the start of the season. This is a guy with 4 more years left on his contract, or at $5.5 million a season on an AAV. That's a heavy price tag for teams to look at for a guy that's got less than a point every couple games. I think he's sitting at about 9 points so far on this season in 24 games. For a player of his capability, and yes, he is getting second-line minutes now with the Canadiens, with Slavkovsky and Monahan / Dvorak, depending on the injury status, with Monahan. But this is a guy that's now getting a little bit more ice time. And maybe that's part of a showcase. I'm not too sure. But based on his salary and based on what his capabilities are from an offensive side of things, that's where he should be. So maybe the Canadiens are just utilizing him from that side of things, but it's not going to stop trade discussions league-wide involving Josh Anderson for whatever the reason. The Canadiens are open to it, but they've made it clear, and they've stayed firm on this point, that it's going to be a strong and heavy price tag if you want to pry Josh Anderson out of Montreal. That, coupled with his big contract, probably see him on March 4th staying in a Habs jersey, but that's not going to stop the chatter.
David, thank you very much for this. It's Upper Deck Player Spotlight, guys who might get traded edition here on the fourth period.